Hey everyone, and welcome to our fourth RadarOmega tutorial video. In today's video, we will be talking about other features of RadarOmega like severe weather outlooks, METARS, weather alert settings, and spotter network. We'll also be talking briefly about a few display and radar settings, and we'll discuss a few questions that you guys have asked from previous videos. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the outlooks and the monitoring section. So let's go ahead and go over here. We get the little menu icon, the hamburger menu. Click on that. Outlooks and monitoring. We're not going to go over all of these, but I would like to go over some of the main ones that I like to use. So here we have severe weather outlooks, and let me get my pencil out here. All right, so we have day 1 through 3. We'll talk about that. And then we have day 4 through 8. We also have mesoscale, and then we have some settings over here. So let's talk about day 1 through 3. So on day 1 through 3, these correspond to the Storm Prediction Center outlooks day 1 through 3. So pretty simple. We have the categorical outlook, we have the probabilistic outlook, then we have tornado, wind, and hail. So as you can see, probabilistic only applies to day 3 because it's the only day that exists on. But let's go ahead and show the categorical outlook. I gotta get my cursor back. And today we had a moderate risk, and you can see that here in this little red. It's kind of pinkish on here, but this little red section. And that moderate risk was driven by, let's go back here. Let's go back to severe weather. It was driven by a 15% tornado risk area. And then surrounding that was a 10, a 5, and a 2%. And then we could also view day 2 if we wanted. I'm just going to do day 1 because it's pretty much the same thing for day 2. We also have a wind outlook. So you have a 40% or 45% in pink, 30%, 15, and then 5. Today was a good day to do this video because we also had a significant severe for wind. I think we had a severe for tornado as well, yes. And the new RadarOmega update now includes the hatch marks, which are these white lines, and then the black outline. And that means there's a probability of significant severe weather, whether it be tornadoes, wind, or hail. So let's go back here to our severe weather. And so you can pick it and you'll notice it update here in the background. And you have one for each of those. And then you get the categorical. You also have days 4 through 8. Of course, these are all the same. So day 4 through 8, they're very simple because it's so far out in forecast. The forecast graphics are very basic, but you can also view those. And it says no data found because there's nothing there. If we keep going, there's nothing on any of these risks, so it's just going to say no data found. We also have our mesoscale discussions. You can click to turn those on. Let's move this out of the way, and you can see we have one here, meso discussion 1181. If you're unfamiliar with what a mesoscale discussion is, it basically is just a discussion, a write-up, if you will, by the Storm Prediction Center of what the severe weather threat is looking like, and they'll make comments about upcoming watches and ongoing watches. Like this one is a continuation, and basically just gives meteorologists and other concerned people like us, weather nerds, the ability to see what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking. And so if you want, you can go on the SPC website and read these, or you can come on here and RadarOmega and you can also read them here. I'm going to turn it off because it clutters up the display. But we also have some settings in here, and you can change the opacity, the thickness on the border. You can turn general thunderstorms on and off, which is pretty cool. So if you don't want to see that lighter green on there, you can turn that off. I'm going to leave it on. And then it's got the significant severe settings. These are new in the most recent, or one of the most recent RadarOmega updates. So you have dashed line fill, dashed line color. You can change it. Currently it's set to white, but you can pick a different color if you want. I'm going to leave it that way. And then you can change the significant severe color. In the SPC graphics, it's black. I'm going to go ahead and leave it that way. And of course, you can change the line thickness. And you can do this pretty much everywhere in RadarOmega, which is one of the cool things about it. It's very customizable. So that's the severe weather outlook. So we're going to go ahead and close that. We're going to go on to the next item. If you guys have questions about that, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. We'll go into tropical weather. Here, this is where you can view the tropical weather outlooks. Now, I don't know if there's going to be anything here. Let's see if we have track information, wind probability, outlooks, and discussions. Let's see if the one that's down here is going to show up, and it does. So this is the two tropical systems that we've kind of got going on here. Tropical development chance, 2-day, 5-day. Overall chance is low. This one's not really a concern to the US at all, and neither is this one down here. But this just goes to show you some of the things that you can view. As we get further along in the summer, this will become a lot more useful. You can view the past track and intensity. Of course, we don't have any of that to show. You can view the cone. You can view the projected track and the current wind field, wind probabilities. You can view tropical storm force, hurricane force, etc. And then, of course, you can show the tropical outlook if you want. And then if the hurricane hunters are flying their missions, you can also show those. So it's pretty neat information. It's got lots of stuff here for us weather nerds. Let's go ahead and go to, I guess we can go ahead and view hydrologic outlooks. This is just basically your excessive rainfall outlooks. So if there's going to be a flooding scenario, you can see day 1 through 3. We'll go ahead and not view that because I don't know if there's any of that going on. You have fire weather. So if it's particularly dry, then you can view the fire weather information. Let's actually get this map back up here. Let's go back up to where the weather is happening. All right, cool. So you also have winter weather. Of course, it's not winter time, but you have probability of snow of more than 4 inches, probability of ice of greater than 1/4 of an inch. And of course, you can adjust the polygon thickness and opacity. And then you have the severity index. So you can view all of those things here. Next, we're going to talk about items that are in the toolkit. Now, I'm going to go over METARS. METARS, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's just basically weather information from weather stations at various airports and other locations. So you can do a detailed display, you can do just the temperature, just the dew point, wind direction, wind speed, and you can do visibility. You can also pick between metric and imperial units. And we'll do a detailed display, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let's pick one that's not by all these storms. So let's click on this one. So you can see, you can actually click on these and it will give you the information for that station. You see it's 66 degrees with a dew point of 66, which is 100% humidity. You can view the overcast, sky cover, cloud base is 500 feet. Flight category is IFR. So if you're a pilot, this is really useful information. And then of course you've got where the wind is coming from. And this is out of the west at 270 degrees. And then it's got 7 miles per hour with 0 mile per hour gusts. So that's the METARS. And if you don't want to view all of the information at once, you can obviously change that by just picking temperature or just picking dew point or whatever. I'm going to turn them all off. And if you've got questions about that, please go ahead and let me know down below. I'm going to skip marine tools, but if you want, you just click on it on your own and see what different options you have. We have surface fronts, and this one's pretty simple. It's just the latest analysis. It shows you where all the fronts are: warm fronts, cold fronts, dry lines, etc. We won't show that one. Weather alert settings. Now I know some people have asked about this in Radar Omega forums or Facebook groups, and I might have seen this elsewhere as well. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it. You have, well, look at that. It pops up behind us. Let's move this out of the way. So on Windows here, we're able to move this. I don't think you can move this on the iOS and Android versions. Maybe you can, but you can pick. You have United States, Canada, and Germany, of course. So those are the ones you can change the alerts for. So if you're getting alerts for Canada and you don't want to see them, um, or Germany and you don't want to see them, you can change that here. But we're going to go ahead and click on here. So storm-based alerts. You also have tropical and winter alerts. We're just going to go over storm-based ones because all the stuff's going to be relatively similar in the other categories. So here's your data source. You could pick NOAA or Allison House. I have an Allison House subscription, so I went ahead and chose Allison House, and it's also a little bit more reliable. Of course, you don't have to have a subscription to use this, so I would recommend using Allison House. It's just a better system. You have tornado warnings, and you can change their color. I think you can also change the fill and border thickness here if you want. Severe thunderstorm warnings, flash floods, special marine, and you can just turn these on and off and change their colors. And then same thing with watches. This window, I can't resize it. I can't get all the way down here to the bottom, but you can see you can change each one of those items if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and see. I don't think there's, yeah, see, it's the same for tropical and for winter. You can change the data source for each of those. We're going to go ahead and go on to the next one. I'm going through these pretty quickly, so if you want to pause, feel free to do so. Storm reports, it's pretty straightforward, but if you want to view storm reports, these are probably from Spotter Network. They may also be from MPing. I am not sure what the source is for these, but you have severe, tropical, flood, and other, and you can do the time intervals. So do you want to get the updates every 30 minutes, every hour, etc. And you can also search up to 20 years in the past for storm reports. So if you want to view past storm reports, you can also go into the past and do that. So let's go ahead and lightning, of course, that's pretty straightforward. Gives you the lightning strikes. I leave it off because it clutters up the display and makes it hard to read. Spotter Network. We're going to skip NextRad history, but you can kind of go into there and see what that's all about. Spotter Network settings. So this shows you the spotter dots. It does not report your location, but it will show you others who are reporting their location via other means. And you can pick your interval active spotter. You can do those active within the last 5 minutes all the way out to 60 minutes. I would recommend that you leave it at the default or just pick 5 minutes, because if you do 60 minutes, your screen's going to be filled with a whole lot more dots. Some of them are going to be really out of date. They may have moved to another location or whatever, and it's going to slow down the application probably. So I'll just leave that alone. So that's the items in the toolkit, except, well, let's go ahead and do NextRad history. This basically just shows you 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch hail. And I think it's for when you're playing it, but don't quote me on that. And you can also do time interval. So that's the NextRad history. Let's go ahead and go into some settings. These can be a little complicated, so I'm going to go in here and show them. I really like the display settings that they have here. I do wish it was just slightly different, but I think it's really good compared to other tools. The roadmap is amazing. You get, especially when you're out chasing, it's really, really helpful. You can pick from different map types: dark, gray, green, satellite, basic, basically all of these. If you want to see what the terrain is like, you can pick the terrain one. I leave it on dark presentation because it kind of allows me to see it, but it's not kind of in my face. You can turn on and off the state and province lines for Canada and the United States. If you don't want to see the counties, of course, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can turn that on and off. And then you can also pick the city and road layer and show when towers are on. You can show when towers are off, or you can just turn it off completely. You can show the research towers, which are the research radars. These are very useful if there's storms really close to these towers. Otherwise, they're pretty useless. You can show the tower codes. So this one up here is KGRB. If you don't want to see those call letters, you can take that off. Map rotation, I'm on Windows, so it's not really going to impact me. But if you're on iOS or Android, it'll turn it off so it doesn't rotate all over whenever you rotate your device. And then for Windows, you can show or hide the search box. I like to leave it on. And then data display, you can change the animation speed, the opacity. So if I were to do this, you could see that the radar kind of goes away. Animation speed, fast or slow. Display, you can either view it in Greenwich time or UTC time, or you can do it in your local time zone. I like to keep it on local. You have location settings, and move this out of the way. You can move the map with your location, so if your location is constantly updating, the map will move with you. I find it really irritating, so I have left it off. You can auto-activate the closest tower, so when you turn it on or when you get closer to another tower, it will automatically switch it for you. Um, RadarOmega still hasn't gotten the GPS issues with Windows fixed. Hopefully in the future they're able to get that sorted out. Uh, GPS with Windows can be kind of a pain in the rear, so I can understand why they haven't got it yet. But this one is another device, so if I have it on my iPhone, it'll show the location of my iPhone's GPS on the screen here, which is kind of useful. So, excuse me. And then you've got all these other options. You can show the zoom controls on the map. I might actually turn that on. Show position information and detailed budgets. So now that I've got zoom controls, let's see if that works. Oh, that's nice. There we go. I'm going to leave those on. So lastly, we're going to take a look at radar settings. You could do full coverage radar. This extends the radar for towers that support it. So not every tower in the US is going to be able to do that. Your reflectivity gate filter, I have mine set 16 to 85. Notice if you do this, it shows you more of the radar. I like to have it right there or thereabouts. Let's do 16. And then you can show storm tracks, which we'll talk a little bit about in one of the questions that were asked by one of our viewers. And then you can pick your velocity. You can do it in meters per second, miles per hour, kilometers per hour. I like to just do it in miles per hour. If you want to know when there's a new radar scan available, you can have it alert you. You can view the range ring, which is this ring right here. Let me get my pencil out so you can see it. This is the range ring. So if you want to turn that off, you can do that as well. And then you have settings for MRMS, model settings, and custom location settings. We won't go over those. I don't really use them. I don't really find them useful. If you'd like to go over those in a future video, please let me know and I'll briefly touch on them in a future video. All right, so those are some of those items. Let's go ahead and get to some of the questions you guys have asked. Let's see, it's one of these questions is from Steve. It says, one thing I noticed you didn't cover was if you can use the cursor on the map to get a specific number on a certain area, i.e. the temperature, the significant tornado parameter, or any of the other parameters. And this was from our forecast models video. And we're going to go ahead and show that real quick by going to models. We'll just go use the her. And it looks like I've got max updraft helicity. So we'll just go ahead and use that. And the way that you do this is the same way you would do it with regular radar. You click this little button right here, the little microscope, and we'll go ahead and click it. Then you see the little red circle here. You just hover over it, and bam, there you go. You can get your values here. Oh, look at these up here. These are really high. So that's how you do that. Pretty simple and straightforward. You can do it in either uh, the models or you can do it in the radar. Our next question was from Blackbird Actual, and it says, can you advise where I can learn about the cell information as far as what the dot on the radar being in orange or green or red with numbers in the middle, what exactly does that signify? And what they're asking about are these right here, like this one, this one, this one. There's another one here. Now, I don't have any with triangles right now, and I don't have any red ones. But, oops, let me get this to turn off here. Now I can move it. Let's see if we've got any of the other ones up here. Nope. So I did go through and try to identify as many of these as I could. The red ones, I didn't see any on my display here, but let me quickly go over these. The orange circle, that's just a basic storm. It doesn't have much going on for it. Notice like this one over here is kind of off on the backside. That's just kind of, there's not much of a storm there, right? So there's a really innocuous one there. An orange circle with a solid orange circle in the middle, which would be this one. That one is a storm that has small hail in it. And if we go ahead and click on it, you can click the eye right here, and it'll bring up another menu, and it shows you the hail probability, the max hail size. Notice it's only half an inch. And then you have a VIL and a meso strength indicator. VIL is vertically integrated liquid because your hail probability is 100%. So this is saying basically that there's hail in the storm, but it's not really severe. The next one we'll take a look at is, we'll just look at this one up here at the top. It's yellow with a number 1 on it. And that one basically means that it's got severe hail, and it shows you the estimated hail size. So the estimated hail size for this one is 1 inch. So if we click on the information here, it says hail probability is 100%, severe hail probability is 40%, and the maximum hail size read by the radar is 1 inch. I would say this is not actually 1 inch. It's probably slightly smaller than that because these radar algorithms that do this are not 100% accurate. But that's how that one goes. And the last one I'll talk about is a green triangle. If you see that, that's the tornado vortex signature. It's not very accurate, and I don't really use it or rely on it in any way, but that is what it is. There was one on here earlier, but it is not on here now, so I'm unable to show it to you at this time. But that, hopefully that answers your question. Oh, look, we have a red one now. The red one, max hail size of 2 inches. So that's, hopefully that answers your question, Blackbird. And then our last question is from Mark, and he says, how do you get to the different dates inside RadarOmega? So I didn't show how to do this last time, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get to the history. It's fairly straightforward. Let me get my pencil out here. So to get to the history, you come down here to this section right here, and then you click this little blue icon right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, and it pulls up this little menu. You can click the date. You can go back in time up to a certain amount. I think it only goes back 6 months. And then you can also click this little clock to pick the time frame. And then you'll also pick time to end it at. You can only do a certain number, I think it's 250 radar sweeps. So you'll have to pick a fairly small amount of time. You can't pick like a whole week's worth of radar, obviously. And so once you've picked your times and your dates, you hit load and it will load that radar from that particular time. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're trying to look at radar in a specific area, you'll actually have to click on that radar. So for me, I'm down here in Texas, but if I want to view radar from Oklahoma or Kansas, for example, like Dodge City, if I click the history and there's nothing going on down here in that radar for that day, if I wanted to view up here, I'm obviously going to have to come up here and click the radar for that. You can also click other radars to see what they showed at that same time after you've done it. I don't remember if there was a little bit of a glitch in it at one point where if you clicked different things, it would reset back to the current time. If it does that, you just go back here and pick your time again. And that's pretty much how you do the history. It's pretty straightforward, but hopefully that helps and answers your question there, Mark. Um, Anyways, if you have any more questions, concerns, or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on our future videos. And if you've got any recommendations for future video content, please go ahead and let us know down in the comments, and we'll try to make those happen for you. Thank you very much and have a nice day.